It's been 12 years. 12 long and lonely years. Do any of you have chronic illness or chronic pain? Well, it's not much fun, is it? I suppose you kind of get used to it. You know, when you go to bed at night, you get up in the morning, you're going to feel the same way you did yesterday. You just never feel good. Well, the physical pain is bad enough, but I think that mine was so much worse. Oh, I had physical pain, and I had the constant weakness. But it was the loneliness, the isolation, the rejection that I wished I could change. This all started when I was a teenager. You see, when women mature, they begin getting a monthly menstrual cycle. And in my day, they were unclean for 7 days during this time. The book of Leviticus spells out the special laws pretty well. That 7 days you can't touch anyone, can't be around anyone. It's isolation. Well, what happens if the bleeding never stops? Well, Leviticus says you continue to be unclean. This is what I dealt with. I tried to hide it. I'd go down to the stream when no one was around and when no one saw me to wash my clothes. And then I would go home. My mother knew what was going on. You would have thought that she would understand. But she would give me that look. You guys know what I mean, don't you? A mother has so many looks, and they always know what's going on. Well, this look that my mother gave me told me that this was all your fault. You could do something to change this. Whatever am I going to do with an unclean daughter? You are worthless. That's what her look said to me. My parents did try to take me to doctors, Roman doctors. We wouldn't want those Jewish doctors to have any idea what was going on. But they couldn't help me either. When my father figured out that this was a long-term, forever situation, well, he wanted to get rid of his little problem. So he went and found me a husband. A husband. And when he found out what was going on, well, let's just say, I don't remember anything after the first 3 times he hit me. When I woke up, I was on my father's doorstep. return damaged goods. My father pleaded ignorance and said that I was no daughter of his. Well, now what am I going to do? Everyone knew what was going on. I couldn't even go into my neighbor's shop. I couldn't be around my friends. I couldn't even go into the occupation that all the other desperate women did. All I could do is become a beggar. Do you ever want something more? I really, really longed for human touch. You know, a hug. You guys know how much I like hugs. A hug, or a handshake, a kiss on the cheek from my parents, a shoulder to cry on from my sister. But you know what? The only touch I ever got was from these self-righteous Pharisees that pushed me out of the way when I was out begging. With this condition, I couldn't even go to the synagogue. Sometimes I just felt like God didn't want to be around me either. But surprisingly enough, I never gave up on God. What could I do? I heard there was a rabbi in our area. I'd been to all the faith healers. They were just charlatans wanting to get my money. But I heard this rabbi was different. Different. Like he really liked people and cared about them. Well, I couldn't expect a rabbi to walk up to me and risk being unclean. What could I do? I couldn't walk up to him and risk getting attention. I wouldn't want him to yell at me or anything. But what if what they were saying about him was true, that he really could heal people? I heard he made the blind see. He made the deaf hear. He made the mute speak. I even heard he cured a leper. I wanted to see about this guy. You betcha. I heard that he was going to be in the next town on the morrow. I could manage getting there. I could keep my head covered, stay hunched over and disguised. No one would know it was me. No one would recognize me. So I went to the town. And when I got there and saw where the crowds were gathering, oh my goodness, there were so many people. The crowd was so huge. And they were all pushing forwards. And I heard a man ask Jesus to go with him to heal his daughter. So the crowd was surging forward, trying to hear what was going on. And they too were following along behind Jesus to the house of Jairus. That's the little girl's father. Well, you know, if I was going to do something, now had to be the time to pull it off. So, pardon me, excuse me. Oh, I'm so sorry. Until I was like 2 feet in front of him. I had my face covered, and I just reached down and kind of touched the hem of his robe. Started to walk away, and instantly, I absolutely knew I was cured. This warmth, it flowed through me, all the way through me, over me like a warm summer breeze. And I knew. I'd really like to get a peek at this guy, you know. So, I was sneaking away and I just peeked over, and wouldn't you know, in that very instant, Jesus turned and looked directly at me. I knew that he knew that it was me. He said, "Who touched my robe?" Someone touched my robe. Who was it? Well, the leaders in the crowd, they were laughing, and they said, "Master, you have people on all sides of you. Everyone's touching you. Whatever do you mean?" Well, I turned to stone. I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. I couldn't do anything. What would he do? Would he send me away? So I did the only thing I thought I could do. I threw myself at Jesus' feet, kept my head down, and I said, "I am so sorry, sir. I was the one that touched your robe. I have been suffering with this illness for 12 long years. I was hoping you could heal me. And I felt the most amazing thing when I touched your robe." I kept my head down, and you know what? No man has ever done this in my whole life. Jesus, he stooped down, he took my face in his hands and lifted my chin so I was looking right into his face. And he smiled. Oh, his eyes, they were absolutely the softest eyes I have ever seen. Well, then Jesus says to me, "Daughter, your faith healed you. Go in peace. Have freedom from your pain and suffering. Go in peace. Be free from your pain and suffering. Well, I knew that I had been healed as soon as I touched his gown. But this went so much deeper. You know, all that loneliness and isolation and rejection. I didn't have to worry about that anymore. I was filled with God's grace. And if that's all I ever had, I would be satisfied. But God's grace was so important. I didn't want to heal all those people that had hurt me before. I didn't want to reject and be rude and all that. It just wasn't in me anymore. I had no desire. But I gotta tell you this, I was pretty bitter against everyone. The financial leaders, my parents, my friends, like I said, just about everyone. Well, it takes time for rejection in relationships that are hurt. It takes time for them to heal. And in time, they saw that my illness was cured. But they saw more. They saw that I wasn't the person I used to be. Like I said, it takes time. But I did heal in my parents' relationship and mine. Oh, it took a while. And the way men treated me, I thought I would never want to be around a man again. But even that changed. One day I would marry and I would have children of my own. But you can bet that there were no people out there that I came in contact with that didn't hear about this man from Nazareth. This man on his way to heal a little girl. He took time out to not only heal my physical, but my heart as well. They all heard about it. Time would go on and you all have heard what happened to Jesus. How the very people that he cured and healed, the very people that he forgave and he loved, they nailed him to a cross. Such a world we live in. But that didn't stop our God from being a loving God. He'd have the last word. What God chooses to do, he can do. No one said it was possible that a person could be raised from the dead. Well, they said it wasn't possible for Jesus to heal me either, so I knew. I knew. This guy was walking with Jesus one day as he's going to healings, and he told me Jesus said, with man, it's impossible. With God, anything's possible. 12 years of suffering. I will always and forever be grateful for that illness that made me open to the grace of God and God's mercy. Remember when I said that illness has kind of become my friend? Well, this is what I meant. If it hadn't been for that illness, I would not have experienced anything, or I would not be pushed to turn to God. And in turn, God turned to me. God's grace, it just poured over me like a warm torrential rain. Do you guys have anything blocking you from God's grace? Keeping you from reaching out to God? Don't give up. Don't ever give up. Don't lose hope. Hope seems hopeless sometimes. You have an opportunity tonight. If this is what's going on in your life, turn to him. He's right here with us. Don't just touch his robe. Give him your heart. He's right next to you this very moment.